Hello, my super duper nonfiction readers. I hope that you are having a better understanding of what nonfiction is based on the books that we've been looking at this week. If you're not sure, think back to what we talked about with Force and Motion and then yesterday with The Sun. Both of those books taught us true information. So when we talk about a nonfiction book, it is not fake. Fiction, fake. Nonfiction, not fake. So I have some more not fake books for you. Books that are trying to teach you things and give you information. And this is something that we actually talked a little bit about in kindergarten, but it happened right as we were leaving school because of the pandemic and then while we were out. So some of you may not have seen this information, but it's going to be so important for you to know for science in first grade because it's going to help us do the thing we're going to do tomorrow. All right? So another topic for science in first grade is all about living and non-living. Okay? So maybe you already have information in your brain that you could tell me about living and non-living, but the cool thing about nonfiction books is they try and teach you even more than what you already know. And that's why we read things, is so we can learn things that we don't already know. So as you're hearing these books about living and non-living things, you may go, I already knew that. Or, oh, that's new. I didn't know that. Because that's the point of reading, is to get that new information. So I have all these cool books about living and non-living, but the one that I'm going to focus on today is this one. Okay? And remember, when we read a nonfiction book, we can't just read the words, but we also have to study the different visuals that the author puts in the books, because those visuals give me really good information. And actually, before I touch on that book, let's look at this one, because like this page, for example, has a heading, which is words, and has these words that go with the heading, but then all these different visuals go with this information over here. So if I just read the heading and the words under the heading, I would miss some important information. Like here, we've got this heading and these words, but there's also words and information that go with these pictures and words and information that go with these pictures. So reading a nonfiction book is really different than reading a fiction book because it doesn't tell you a story. It doesn't have a beginning, a middle, and an end, but it has lots of visual information that I have to try and store up in my brain. So let's see if that's true in this book today on living and non-living. And take a look at the front cover. Even just here, it's trying to give you some information. Can you try and figure out what the author's trying to show you with this picture? What do they want you to think about? They want you to think about which dog is living and which dog is non-living. Can you figure it out before we even read? Yeah, this one's alive for living, and this one is not alive for non-living. Can you think about why you can tell the difference? What makes this one living and this one non-living? We're going to read to find out. Ooh, there's that super important feature, the table of contents, where it lists all the different ideas that are going to be in the book so that you can come back and check your thinking and say, oh, yeah, I remember learning about this, or oh, yep, I remember the page on that, because all the page numbers are going to be over here for you in the table of contents. So, what is living? This cat is living. You can tell that the cat is alive because it is licking its paw. If there is a loud noise, it will jump. Elephants and people are animals. All animals are living things. There are many different kinds of living things. Plants. These plants are alive and growing. You can tell they are alive because they have green leaves. Each plant grows from a seed. Trees can go on growing for many years. Each year they grow new twigs, branches, and leaves. Some trees grow flowers every year. So before I even move on, I want you to try and remember the information you've gotten so far. Animals are living and plants are living. Sometimes people will look at a plant and not really remember that it's a living thing, but it does need all of the different things we're going to talk about in order to stay alive. Just because you don't see it moving by itself or, growing super fast doesn't mean that it's not alive. Plants are living things just like animals are living things. So what is non-living? None of the things in this picture are living. So again, here, they really want you to pay attention to the visuals. They put this there for a reason to help you understand the information. Can you see some of the things that are non-living? I bet you could find a lot of things at your house that are non-living. It says they cannot move on their own. They will only move if they are pushed. This doll cannot move and it does not grow. Non-living things stay the same unless something else changes them. I think that's a really good way to put it. Plants change on their own. People and animals go through stages. They change on their own. But non-living things won't change at all unless something else changes them. Moving. These zebras are galloping. Animals can move by themselves. Most animals have legs, wings, or fins. They use those things to move. Non-living things cannot move on their own. A car or truck can move very fast, but a person has to start the engine and then drive it. So again, you might be thinking, I knew that already, but you didn't really have to think, why can a car move? Oh, it's only because a person gets in and starts it and then drives it. So the car, yes, it can move, but it's still non-living. Senses. This is something we talked a lot about in kindergarten. Can you remember your 5 senses? Animals and people can see, hear, feel, smell, and taste. This is how they know what is going on around them. Seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, and tasting are called the senses. Plants have different senses. That's new information for me. Their senses allow them to react to the world around them. A sunflower grows upwards. The flower turns so that it always faces the sun. Did you know that? One of my friends in Pennsylvania planted a whole field of sunflowers, and she made sure to position her house around the field of sunflowers so that she knew that when the sun came up, the flowers would be facing it and then turning it. So she would always see the front of the flower because it would follow the sun instead of only ever seeing the back of the flower. I thought that was pretty cool. This is one of my favorite things. Eating and drinking. Living things need to eat food and drink water to stay alive. What is in the sandwich that this boy is eating? Again, they really want you to pay attention to this visual information. What do you see in that sandwich? Make sure you can see all the parts. Would you put the same things in your sandwich, or would you put different things in your sandwich? It says plants use their leaves to make their own food. They take in water through their roots. Plants die if they do not get enough water. That's something I've been trying to do a better job of, is drink more water because it's important to staying alive. Finding food. Again, here in the visual, if we missed it, there's a little label that says cheetah and a little label that says antelope. So they really want you to pay attention to those things. This cheetah is hunting an antelope. Some animals, like the cheetah, eat only meat. Others, like the antelope, eat only plants. Non-living things do not eat and drink. This lion is carved out of stone, and so it is non-living. Even if you put food in its mouth, this lion will not eat. Pretty interesting to think about it that way. Breathing. Living things need to take in oxygen. Oxygen is a type of gas. Humans breathe in oxygen from the air. Let's try that. Breathe in. Out. And then here, our visual information says fish take in oxygen from water. So again, you may be asking yourself, I didn't know how fish breathe before because they're not out in the air, but they need oxygen too. It comes from the water. Neat. Snails and plants take in oxygen too. Plants give out oxygen at night, but rocks do not breathe. Non-living things do not need oxygen. So I thought it was interesting that plants give out oxygen at night. Getting rid of waste. You might find this page silly, but it's part of being alive. All living things produce waste. The brown cow pats are waste from these 2 cows. Urine is also waste that animals get rid of. Can you understand what they're talking about when they say waste and cow pats? What could that brown stuff be? The statue is covered with waste. The statue does not produce waste because it is not alive. Which animals have produced this waste? Can you figure it out? Again, paying attention to that visual information. New life. Living things produce babies or seeds that will grow to become like themselves. These puppies will grow up to be an adult dog like their mother and their father. Right? Just like you, you're going to grow up and be a grown-up someday. If these seeds are planted, they will grow into new plants. But spoons will not make copies of themselves. This is because they are non-living. Again, I just think being able to see what the words are saying really helps you remember and understand this information. To be able to see these little baby puppies next to their mom, right, and understand that these little baby puppies are going to grow up into this big puppy. And then to be able to see these seeds and think, yeah, if I plant them, they will grow. But these spoons, if I planted them, they will not grow because they are non-living. Living things die. Many flowers and insects live only for a few months. Then they die. After they have died, they slowly rot away. Some living things live for just a few years. Others live for many years. A giant tortoise could live for 100 years before it dies. Things that were alive. These things are made of wood. Wood comes from trees that were once alive. Wool, paper, and cotton also come from things that were once alive. Things that were once alive have to be treated to stop them from rotting. Non-living things do not rot. And again, this information down here with this picture says, plastic toys do not need to be treated to stop them from rotting. But like wood and cotton and stuff, things that used to be alive that are not alive, have to have special things done to them to help them stay solid and last for a long time. So living or non-living, ready? The children, the puppies, and the flowers are living things. Which things in the picture are non-living? So again, they told you what was living. They said the kids, the puppies, the flowers. Can you think non-living? Yep, if you said basket or fence, those things, her clothes, her headband, those things are non-living. The table, the sofa, and the door are non-living. There are 4 living things in this room. What are they? 4 living things. Can you find them? Yep. Will be the girl, the dog, and then those 2 plants behind them. You could even see the grass outside. that would be living as well. And that's the end, right? Because it doesn't tell a story. It doesn't feel like it wraps up like it would with a problem and a solution. But I can tell that it's the end because we've moved from the pictures that give us that visual information with the headings and the words to more information laid out differently, like our glossary, the answers to the questions and all the pages, and then more books to read about living and non-living things. So again, this is all about giving me information. So every single part of this book is going to try and give me pieces of information in some way. Okay? So we will move on to our final science topic tomorrow. But in first grade, remember, we're going to learn about force and motion. We're going to learn about the sun. We're going to learn about living and non-living just a little bit because you learned it in kindergarten. And then we're going to use living and non-living to talk about one more science thing, right? So we love you, and we will see you at 11:30 for math.